got it. Okay. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Now I gotta find the thing that we need the other thing for. It's here somewhere. Provided, yep. Okay. 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 This over here. Get rid of the top chat because I don't know why that's the freaking default thing. Okay. Now I think we're good. Only took 20 damn minutes. Alright, let's see. Now, I need to get people back. Which, you know, that's going to be a hit or miss, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. I can at least start reintroducing this thing now that I'm 21 minutes late. Woo! Yeah, 21 minutes late. Dandy. And of course all the cameras are off because, you know, all the cameras are off. You know, this happens when you try and take 20 minutes to do a thing. If I did a pre-show, I wouldn't have had this problem. It would still be early, but no, I had to be late with the crap and everything like that. I did figure it out. It was adding the audio device in the wrong place because, you know, why not? I guess that's just how it works. So, oh yes, this is what I was here. That's exactly what the problem was. Why it didn't work the last time. That's why we gotta take this up. Okay. Fixing the camera. That's what this is, a lot of back and forth. Oh, wow, that is so much better than I had before. Okay. So I recorded something Thursday, and it was like, oh, hey, let's record something for Thursday. And then it was like, oh, your head's like almost cut off the entire time. And I was like, well, scrap that whole thing, we're going to re-record it. So that's what I'm doing today. This one, okay. So I gotta think about all the stuff I said when I was trying to stream before, and because I don't remember. Things. One, I finished the painting this morning, which is nice. Two, recording 3 videos today. It's not going to be a real long stream. Actually, maybe it is now, then I had to forever to do the audio. I was also saying at the time that I'm almost out of Kleenexes in the house, and my nose was running really bad. And then I had to deal with this, and now I seem to be okay again. So I think we're going to be good for at least a little while. So I got 3 videos to record. They're all kind of all over the place with just subject matter and things like that. But they should be really fun. I think it'd be fun for you guys to see me record, and then for those of you who watch here and then watch the videos later, I mean, they're probably going to come out over the course of the next month. It'd be just interesting to see what your perspective from the side is, as well as the perspective of what I set up to do everything in the camera with and things. So a video for me takes roughly 15 to 20 minutes to write, which I did ahead of time, thankfully. Otherwise, it would have been really boring just sitting here watching me type. So yeah, first I gotta make sure all the links are out because yeah. So I still gotta do that. Now that I fixed everything, we gotta just gotta do stuff. Okay. So we gotta just this video. Just gotta do stuff. Okay. Make sure the link in the announcement is there and right. together. We're here. Ta-da. It's working. So yeah, now that I'm late, shocker, we can get this done. Alright, so, I'm recording. I guess. Just jump into it. Do a thing. Okay, think how I started this one. This is another big part of this process is just thinking about how to approach each sentence. Because all I've got is an outline, just some notes jotted down, so... It's like, alright, we're gonna be... Oh, no, not auto power off. No. Oh, thank God. That could have been bad immediately. Alright. I'm taking too long. My camera wants to shut off. Hope my battery power's so good. It's not showing up yet. It must be okay. Alright. Let's do it. So this first one is called Artistic Detachment. Make sure we hit record. Hey everybody, Ben here from Cinder Studios, and yeah, that is right, okay. Somewhere in the back of my head I still want to say DMC Phones. I haven't done that in a while. In fact, I'm pretty sure the website's going to be defunct very soon. That my domain's up. Okay. Hey everybody, Ben here from Cinder Studios, and today we're talking about artistic detachment. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Well, the thing is like, it's really cool to make stuff and be in love with the stuff that you make, because that takes some time, but at the same time, you also need to be detached from your work. So we're going to talk about how to remain detached from your work, when to stay attached to it, and all that stuff in between. So stick around. That wasn't bad. That'll work. So to start things out, why is it so important to remain detached from your art? Actually, no, I want to start that differently. So let's start things off with a little bit of why over-attachment is so bad. When you're overly attached to your work, you treat everything you make, from a sketch to a doodle to even a nice completed finished piece, as this precious piece of art that could never be destroyed ever. Move over a little. The problem with doing this is when you're so attached to your work, you're often afraid to grow and limit yourself in being unable to grow at all just because you don't really understand. So you have to be able to let some things go. Zoom in a little bit. Get a little more intimate. So if you're trying to separate sort of over-attachment from under-attachment, no, I also didn't hit record, so it wouldn't matter. So in order to maintain this idea of separation between you and your art, it's important to separate the piece from the idea of the piece. While the piece itself is something that could very easily be destroyed, we certainly hope it isn't, but it can happen. The idea is something that actually will last. The idea is in your head. You can destroy the piece over and over and over again, but the idea is still there. So hold on to your ideas, but don't be so afraid to get rid of a piece. It's a lot more cohesive than the first time I recorded this, too. Alright. This isn't to say, however, that all attachment is bad. It's good to be attached to your work, because if you're just willing to just throw everything away, then you're never really going to create anything that's really worth holding on to. Whether you're ditching pieces that didn't work, or just tossing old sketches that you don't care about anymore, that's fine. But it's important to have pieces that are personal, things that are just for you, things that you do want to hold on to. The idea, though, is not to let the pieces you hold on to keep you from challenging yourself. And this can be something that's really very dangerous. When you cling to ideas too much, when you cling to the work you've made too much, say, this piece was perfect, I can't do any better than this, then you're going to cause yourself some problems. You have to be able to set a piece aside, turn it facing a wall, not look at it for a while and say, let's see how we can do better. Let's challenge ourselves to do better than that. I love this piece, it's great, but I think I can do better, so let's try it. So yeah, we're getting back. I am assuming my audio is working, and I did double check, but just, yeah, okay. I know it's not ideal quality-wise, but whatever. The good mic's attached to the camera. This camera. Actually, we need to. I don't want to drag that whole thing over here. So let's get the smaller easel. Probably should have set this up ahead of time. Alright. This is a travel easel. Goes to shows with me a lot. It's caked in paint. One of these days you can get like a really cheapo canvas and slice it with a razor blade after painting something on it and talk about like repairing a canvas. Should be fun. Someday. When I'm both dedicated to paint something and dedicated to killing it. I need to do actually 2 quick drawings here. Something dark. Like charcoal, maybe. That's another thing I should have set up ahead of time, I didn't. But that's what happens. I routinely don't set things up. And then we have this problem. That doesn't work. Let's do the good one on the other side. shitty. Okay. Simple little demo things. And now we're going to zoom in a little to here. I can guarantee what I'm about to do is probably going to make a lot of people cringe, but that's the whole point. Now let's talk a bit now about really kind of getting detached from your work and what exactly that means. Now, all work that you create, whether that be traditional or digital, is going to fade in the tests of time. Now, obviously traditional works are probably going to fade a little faster, but digital files get corrupted too, so eventually the piece that you made won't exist anymore. And you kind of have to know that going in as an artist. What's important to do, though, is to really embrace this level of impermanence and learn to let things go. Because it's very easily to be like, okay, everything I make has to be perfectly preserved. Granted, if you want your art to last a long time, yeah, there's certainly some truth to that. But at the same time, you have to be willing to say, okay, no, not everything needs to be preserved, especially not a sketch. So over here I've got some newsprint with some charcoal and stuff on it. And this is a really good example, and that's why I love newsprint in general, because it's good about teaching you how to just toss things aside and not really be super willing to hold on to things. So, simple sketch. It's like, okay, maybe I don't really like this one, so let's just get rid of it. You know, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all just whatever. Doesn't matter. But let's say maybe, okay, you do a sketch that you actually kind of like. I did this in about 5 minutes or whatever, and I was like, you know what, there's some potential here. You know, there's something I could do with it. But at the same time, it doesn't matter. Because the idea is there. Or the idea is here, rather. But the piece itself, you don't need to keep it. There's no point. Art is impermanent, and you have to be willing to let things go. Okay, all this crap back. How you guys doing over there in chat? Kind of focusing on my recording, but oh, come back. There we go. This video is probably gonna be like 5 minutes, by the way. As a gauge. But, you know what? I'll be nice about it and say probably about 7. Because I really don't know what I'm going to cut this down to quite yet. It's not a super long tutorial. I got charcoal over my hands and I just wiped it on my face, didn't I? I bet I did. I bet I did. Okay. Let's back things up. Now, not every piece of, Now, not every part of sort of learning to let go and be detached from your work has to do with just ripping pieces, throwing them away, and burning them if you feel so inclined. What really taught me to be really kind of detached from my work is actually when I started selling it. There's an old concept of buyer's remorse. The idea that you bought something and then about a week later, like, oh crap, I spent money on this? But the thing is, there's actually a level of seller's remorse too, especially for artists. You might make something, you might put your heart and soul into it, and then when you sell it and somebody walks away with it, you kind of go, oh, it's gone. Oh, I don't know if I like this feeling or not, actually. The thing is, if you're going to be kind of pushing your art and pushing yourself into being a pro, you have to be able to make things that you're willing to let go of. I'm going to do that again. Now, for a hobbyist, it can be a really kind of great thing to just be able to gift people artwork and make them happy that way. But when you start selling your artwork, especially online, and you don't ever really see the person's face that you're giving it to, you can kind of be like, oh, okay, this thing, and it's gone, and it's just out in the ether now, and all the piece that I made and put all my work into is gone. So you kind of have to approach projects knowing that that's going to happen. There's really not a painting I approach today that I make with the intent of holding on to. Now, sometimes that happens. I make a piece like, I like this too much, I'm keeping this one. Which is fine. That's the whole point of being attached for a good reason. But at the same time, you don't want to make pieces and be like, I like all of these, nobody's getting them. You have to be able to make a piece and sit with the full intention of saying, I'm probably going to sell this someday. I would say my biggest one exception, though, are my sketchbooks. I am not selling my sketchbooks. Those are where the ideas are. That was fun. I get intense and stuff. I mean, you guys see this in live shows a lot too with me, but I play it up. I play up the personality for a video and occasionally for a live show, but for the most part, it's very, very relaxed. It's very calm. So it's like, oh, geez, you're really, it's the thing is, I'm playing up the personality to create the persona that you guys see every week. It's acting. That's really all it is. It's like, you may not consider yourself an actor, but if you're making YouTube videos, you're acting. That's all it is. But the bottom line for selling your artwork and learning to let it go is that your art, in a lot of ways, should make you happy. If it's not, you're probably doing something wrong. But you make your art to make yourself happy. So do yourself a favor and do somebody else a favor by selling it to them or giving it to them to make them happy too. Okay, now we go over this way for the wrap up. So lift this up. This comes over here. We do our little wrap up in front of the mural every time. Kick my backlight compensation up so it doesn't look like a dark cave. Sometimes it certainly does. Also helps to do this during the day. When I record at night, it gets really dark and terrible. Zoom in a little. Center it. Perfect. Bring this over here so I know what I'm saying. I probably have to crouch down while this is where things get weird. I don't know how well you guys can see me from there. Probably enough. So I'm going to lean against the wall. This. Down. I'm often in really weird and uncomfortable positions when I'm recording too, which never helps. Alright, so what am I saying here? So total attachment or detachment in either extreme is never really a good idea. But it's important to remain... Nope, not it. So the two extremes of really loving your work and holding on to it and letting go of it a little too much is really never a good thing. It's important to find a balance between the impermanence and the pursuit of really great work. So if you learned anything in this video, hit that like button. Consider supporting on Patreon in this been Cinder Studios. Oh wait, I said fronted. Oh, I forgot to hit some. Oh, damn it. I forgot to say subscribe. Oh, that sucks. Now I gotta do that whole thing over again. I'm probably gonna mess it up at least once. That's good. That's gonna be a good one for bloopers in 2 months. All right. So the two extremes of total attachment or total detachment, where you're afraid to let anything go, not necessarily a good in either direction. It's important as an artist to find a balance between the impermanence of your work as well as the pursuit of making something great. So if you learned anything in this video, hit that like button, consider supporting on Patreon, get subscribed if you're not already, and this has been Cinder Studios, and I'll see you guys next time. Now, that was a good ending. Turned out awesome. Really, really good. And there's enough light. There's almost never enough light. It's crazy. Alright, there's one done. Now I'll move the camera back over, zoom out, and go again. At least in the recording sense, that's all there is to it. At least for general educational videos. When I'm doing a tutorial, I have the camera up here. It's facing top down. I've got wires going every which way. It's a lot more complex. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to even come close to recording something like that today. Might put the camera up for a sketch everyday video, not sure. So how are you guys doing? Let me know in chat. I know you guys are probably coming and going a little bit here and there, but also the fact that the stream had to go back and forth with uploading and not uploading. Yeah, it was a mess. It was a mess. A mess, a mess, a mess, a mess. Actually, I'm going to over here get rid of the other part of the thing. Delete that section of that. Okay. Now things are looking a little better. Okay. So the next video is something I've been dying to make for like 6 months. And it's called, actually I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to call it yet. The short title is How to Comment on Art. The long title is Art Marketing and Making Great Comments. I don't know which one I'm going to use yet, but we'll see. So, yeah. Okay, in, centered, good. Hey everybody, Ben here from Cinder Studios, and today we're talking about commenting on art. Something that's very simple, and we all sort of do it from time to time, but there's actually a little bit more to it than just saying, wow, this piece looks awesome. And there's also a lot to it that plays into art marketing and how to be a better art... rambling. Start over. Short, simple, to the point. Get people in. They stick around for more, and then the logo, Hey everybody, Ben here from Cinder... Yeah, I'm right into that light. I'm going to step back a little. Hey everybody, Ben here from Cinder Studios, and today we're talking about commenting on art. It's something we all do, but it's also something we can all do a little bit better. So for those tips and more, stick around. That was a good intro. So when it comes to making a comment on a piece of art, there's actually a little bit more to it than just saying, hey, good job, or hey, I like that. There's actually a lot more to it as well that plays into art marketing. every artist wants to market their art and market it well and build communities. And making good comments is actually kind of the first stepping stone in that process. I kind of said all that, but not in the way that I typed it. Alright. I'll zoom in. Sit down. There we go. Okay. Oh, I'm still recording too. Oh, alright. Thought I paused that, but apparently not. So let's start out with what makes a comment bad. Now, not every bad comment is something that is hateful. Something that you're like, oh, wow, you suck. That's not what I'm talking about in terms of bad comments. I'm talking about comments that you make that seem good. And just like, I just want to say how much I like this. And that's fine. Every artist appreciates somebody saying, wow, I like this. Wow, this is awesome. Great, love it, awesome work. Artists love getting those. But they don't really go any further than that. You might get the artist to say, hey, thanks. And that's the end of that conversation. So you want to make a comment that starts a conversation, that inspires the artist to respond with more than just thanks. Again, we like hearing awesome, like it, love it. I don't want to stop getting those from you guys. But at the same time, I'd like you to be a little more intuitive with what you're saying. So let's break down the good comment. A good comment is more than just a gut reaction. It really allows you to be specific about what you like about a piece. The easiest way to think about how to make a good comment is to reference, again, something specific. Think about your elements and principles of design. So line, shape, color, value, movements, emphasis on different things in the piece, and use those to inform the kind of comment you're making. Rather than just saying, wow, awesome, you can say something like, powerful color in this piece, really jumps out at me. Or even, this is a great use of like light and shadow. It's like just, it pops. It's just awesome. When you make comments like that, you get artists excited to respond because you notice something in the piece beyond just the gut reaction of, hey, this is cool. You can get the artist to kind of look at your comment and say, it says, man, the perspective, it's dynamic, there's really something here. And the artist would be like, thanks, I worked really hard on this. You know, it's like, it was really kind of a challenge to get this for me, but I feel like it really paid off. I'm so glad you like it. And that concept is that whole point. You're having a conversation with the artist beyond just, I like this, thank you. You're having conversations that last more than 3 words. They're lasting a few sentences. You're able to kind of keep going back and forth sometimes, depending on how much you really have engaged the artist and how much they really feel like engaging you for that day. I mean, let's be honest, some artists are busy, they don't have time. Fine, you gotta not keep pestering them. But, you know, when they do respond, sometimes, depending on which account, which website you're on, it can take some people a little bit longer. That conversation is usually worth having. Okay. And it's not just the elements and principles of design that make good comments. It's about commenting about how that piece of art affected you emotionally. There's a lot artwork that is specifically stuff based on the human figure. I mean, I do landscapes, so it's going to invoke a slightly different response from a viewer. But something that really kind of tears at your emotions, that's a comment to make. Man, this hit me hard. It's like this piece that's really dark, and I'm going through this time right now, and it's like you relate that to the artist. They're gonna respond to that because they're probably going through that too. Zoom back in. So comments can be a really great way to open doors between you as a fan or you as an artist to another artist, or just an artist in general. Making a good comment, opening that line of communication, has done both incredible things for me as an artist and as a fan to a lot of people. I've opened up open lines of conversation with artists, as well as just become sort of like a nice dedicated fan from their fan base, because I keep coming back and I keep making comments and being interested in the work they're creating. And that is something that everybody, artist or fan alike, is going to appreciate. You want conversation, you want a real connection with people, and a good comment can get you there. And when you get to know artists, one, we're regular people, so duh. Two, you kind of branch out. You can get into collaborations. You can find opportunities for yourself and for your friends that you may not have found otherwise just by starting that conversation, making a good comment, and getting to know that artist. Okay, so now we've talked about making that good comment, but there's actually another piece of this puzzle as well, and this is for artists specifically. Also specifically on top of that, artists who upload their stuff online. Anywhere that you can have an artist statement, they have a description box for the thing you're making, put something in the description box. This is something that drives me nuts. Specifically on DeviantArt, I see this a lot. Really awesome artists, professionals even, post an incredible piece of digital art, nothing in the description box, no mediums, no thoughts on the piece, just piece, title, that's it. This is not a way to start a conversation. When I see pieces like this, like, wow, this piece is awesome, it might land in my favorites, but that's all the further I take it, because you haven't invited me to comment. You haven't given me anything to work on. You've given me the title and a piece. And yeah, sometimes a piece can speak for itself, and sometimes. Not usually, not always. Yeah, good pieces speak for themselves. They don't need a description, but give it a description. If you're trying to gain in new fans, if you're trying to build your community, then you have to be able to give them some meat to chew on. Something I started doing a couple of years ago was put little, like 2 to 4 sentence stories into the pieces. So you have the piece, you have the title, and then you have a little description of it. Just sort of what I was thinking when making the piece. And then I'll usually list medium and size of the piece as well, because you get a digital image, you don't know how big the piece is. And that's just a way to kind of instill a little conversation, because people will see that and go, oh, okay, that's what he was thinking. Let me put something in as a comment. That's a great way to kind of give yourself your own jumping off point. But when you don't describe your art, when you don't put anything else in there, it's like, well, if you didn't put the effort in, why should I? That was a nice long rant. I think I covered all my bullet points too. Yep. So now we go to the wall. Take the camera back. Hope you guys are finding this interesting, by the way. I mean, you're getting you're essentially getting all of the information in these videos like a month in advance. Because these 3 videos are going to be like the next 3 consistent videos. Provided I don't have a painting process video in between. Which, up in the air, I might not. I don't know. Oh, I never took that back off. That's why that was so bright. That's alright. Not the end of the world. Okay. Leaning in. There we go. Oh, okay. So a good comment on a piece of art is kind of easy to come by, but it's easy to overlook as well. Next time you're making a piece of comment on my work, on another artist you admire, or just any random artist you happen to find, take the time to look at the piece, figure out what you like about it, and be specific with the comments you make. So if you learned anything in this video, hit that like button, consider supporting on Patreon, subscribe for more, and this has been Cinder Studios. I'll see you guys next time. I should have zoomed in. This looks really, really awkward. And that's video 2. Alright, back around again. Third video is somewhat of a suggestion, somewhat of something just, again, another one I've just been trying, or wanting to do for a while. And that's talking about the pigment database, which I've got a blog post on, but I don't really have a video talking about it. It's also slightly more of an advanced topic, because a lot of things are very beginner focused here. The pigment database is something that'll probably confuse a lot of people, so I gotta approach this gracefully. Man, I'm getting hungry. I have not eaten anything yet today. Been up for like 6 hours-ish. That's the problem with the studio day is I get up early, and then I paint and I work in the studio and I don't eat. Most I've had today was orange juice and like a couple pieces of candy corn. So it's 1. I'm due for food and a trip to the grocery store, which is weird. I almost never shop on the weekends, but I'm gonna need orange juice before too long, and potatoes. I'm like almost out of potatoes. These are the things on my mind when I'm in the studio. Oh man, I really need potatoes. What do you think about when you're painting? How much I need potatoes? Okay. I'm getting silly now. Alright. So, this one I don't even know how I'm going to start. I got to think about this a little bit. I mean, I kind of have it in my notes, but... kind of want this to be like a quick tip. It's a little too long to be a quick tip. Okay. It has an outline, it can't be a quick tip. The whole point of a quick tip is that there's no outline. Of course, half the stuff I did this year, there was no outline, so they're all quick tips. They're just 20-minute quick tips. Hey everybody, Ben here from Cinder Studios, and today let's talk about pigments. So if you're not really sure, what is a pigment anyway? Pigments, both organic and inorganic, are chemicals usually ground into a powder that give everything in the world color, whether that be paint, chalk, colored pencils, your clothing, whatever it happens to be. It's made primarily with pigments. Pigments in art are... Now for art, Pigments are sort of one key ingredient among the usual three. Pigment, binder, and stabilizer exist in pretty much every artistic medium you've got. At least, of course, anything that isn't bleached or dye-based. That's a different type of adding color to things. Alright. Now, that's sort of the simple idea behind pigments, and it's what most beginners need to know. But the rest of this video, I just in advance, is going to be something that if you're new to painting, you might want to skip past this, because this is going to get a little complex. This is for real color nerds. People that are so into their paint, they want to learn so much about their paint that they got to just dive into pigments, individual pigments in particular. Every tube, jar, or whatever of paint you have is going to have a color code on it. I'm just going to pick up this jar here. It's going to say pigment somewhere on there, or it might just have a color code, in this case PY37. P for pigment, Y for yellow, 37 is just the number of them. There's a big list. How do you identify them? Well, that is where the pigment database comes in handy. This is a tool that I have found online a number of years ago, and I love it. I've been using it for years to research different colors, learn what my colors are, learn to identify them, and also do some cross-platform media and brand identification. Now that sounds really nerdy, but there's actually a lot of practical advice within this. That was a nice rant. Hey, we're getting people back finally. Now that I'm on the third and final video, when there's probably like 10 minutes left. Yep, now we're getting people back. Figures! Hi, people! You'll be able to watch this stuff later. Maybe I'll paint a little bit just to appease the gods, I guess. Okay, so what do I mean by cross-medium references here? Well, the thing is when you're switching from maybe colored pencils to a pastel, to an acrylic paint, to an oil paint, back to a watercolor, then to a gouache, how do you know that the color is the same every single time? They might all say cadmium red, they might all say quinacridone violet. You might be looking at 5 different pigments across all those mediums, and if you're switching between brands, well, that's a whole other thing in the mix too. But how do you know that the color you're using is the same? That is where identifying the pigments on what you're using really comes in handy. Pretty much any artist or professional art supplies, some student stuff too, is going to have that color code or pigment information on the paint tube, jar, product itself somewhere. Again, the thing to look for is a letter and number designation. The letter P for pigment, and then different colors based on the color. So PR is red, PO is orange, PY is yellow, and so on and so forth. Again, link to the pigment database is in the description box below, so you'll be able to find that and reference it later as well as I'm talking here today. So you identify a pigment and say, okay, this is this color in this tube of paint. It's also this color in this pastel, so if I'm switching between the two, or I want to use the same color in my drawing that I did in my painting, you can do that, and you can really kind of identify which ones and really kind of unify and streamline your process. One thing that's really interesting, though, I find between even the same brand of a paint, or now whether you're switching between brands of paint or whatever you happen to be using, there's actually an interesting thing with pigments is that the same pigment might produce two different colors depending on how much of the pigment they use. One thing I found rather interesting recently is a friend of mine gifted me a couple of the M-Gram Artist Acrylic paints. There's quinacridone Violet and quinacridone Rose. Now these colors, I'll hold them up I guess this way, they're interesting. They're different colors. One's definitely more of a bluish violet, the other one's definitely more reddish. What's interesting about these two colors is they're made with the exact same pigment. They're made with quinacridone Violet PB19. But this one again, PB19, PB19, these are two different colors. So when you identify the pigment, you can, one, see that difference between the two colors, as well as see how different things are between the same brand, between multiple brands. Here's another interesting one. Golden has this color called micaceous iron oxide. They call it black gesso with a bite. It's sort of a little bit of has a gritty texture and it's black. This uses PR101. PR is a red pigment. This is a black paint. You might notice that red oxide is also PR101. This is what people are thinking of when they think of PR101, because the PR101 is, what is it called? Synthetic red oxide or red iron oxide. Now this same color, in core watercolors, is called Venetian red. So all three of these, and this is going to be, they're both red. This is that same red. Here's a Liquitex ink, red oxide, same pigment. And a lot of times, something like this, it's going to look the same color, but every now and then you get the oddball. This one, that's made with the same red pigment, and it's black. So you really got to pay attention to exactly what colors are named, what the names of colors are, what's in the paints, and really being able to reference back to that database and say, is this the same color? Yes, it's the same color in my acrylics, in the inks, in the watercolors, in a pastel. I'm really going to have to cut this video up. This is getting weird. Something like this Rembrandt one, which the references for it, I think, are on the box somewhere. All of these colors are the same color. And if you know what the pigment is, then you know exactly what you're looking for. This is going to be a bitch to edit. Pardon my language. When I rant this much in a video, this is when you know it's going to be both a good one and a really freaking confusing one. I didn't plan to do any of that with the colors, so that's fine, except for the violet. So that's sort of a short-term look at learning those things, being able to cross-brand, cross-paint, I could say platform painting and drawing. That's the short term. What about long-term looks? Nope. Start over. So sort of this, I guess you'd say, cross-platform art media experience with learning pigments and learning the different names of colors and how names of colors aren't necessarily the names of the pigments and how that varies, especially between brands. That's the short term. Let's talk long term. How useful is this information down the road? Getting to know more about the paint that you use as well as the colors that you use is a great way to, nope, what is it? Okay. Learning about whether it be paint, whether you're using wet media or dry media, learning about the stuff that you make really allows you to make smarter decisions, both on canvas as well as just in the planning stages when you're sketching. Knowing how different pigments behave, say some are more transparent, some are more opaque, and knowing that across brands will allow you to make smarter decisions and really kind of save money in the long run to really kind of plan things out. I said most of that already. I got to rethink this. Save time. Knowing the difference between certain pigments, such as more opaque ones and more transparent ones, will allow you to save both time and money on the next project you make, as well as dozens and dozens of projects down the road. Plus, you get the benefit of being impressively nerdy with your friends when you can say, "Oh, PW6, that's the titanium white. PBK black, that's carbon black." Yeah. Did I say PBK black? I think I said PBK black. So that's when I get excited. Okay. Plus, there's always the benefit of being impressive and nerdy with your friends to say, "Oh, PW6, that's titanium white. Oh, PBK7, that's Mars black." Fuck. It's not. It's carbon. Damn it. Alright. That's a fun one. Fun one for the gag reel. Figured I'd have to mess up at least one string for this thing. Okay. Plus, it's always fun to be intelligent and nerdy with your friends when you say, "Oh, PW6, that's titanium white. Oh, PBK7, that's carbon black." Because, why wouldn't you? Okay, now we go to the wall again. To the wall! The wall! Starting to run out of battery. It's just enough. Just enough for the mess. Okay. Turn. I still need to see me. Be a good thing. Yeah. So while the pigment database might be a little more complex than every painter needs to know, So while the pigment database might be a little more complex of a tool than every painter needs to know about, it is something that I've forgotten. What is it? So while the pigment database may not be the tool that every painter needs, for the more experienced artist, it can be a great way to learn more about the paints and pigments that are... Nope, that's not it either. What is it? Shouldn't be that hard to say. So while the pigment database may not be the easiest... nope. So while the pigment database may not be the tool that every painter needs, for the more experienced artists, it's a great way to learn... Nope, what the hell is that phrase? Expand their knowledge about the supplies that they use. Expand their knowledge about the supplies. Okay. So while the pigment database may not be the best tool for every painter, for the more experienced artist, it's a great way to build the knowledge about the supplies that you use. So if you learned anything in this video, nope, damn it. Okay, we'll please cut in between there. Actually, I'm gonna move over a little too. So if you're gonna check out the pigment database, So if you learned anything in this video, you do want to check out the pigment database, hit that like button, consider supporting on Patreon, and get subscribed if you're not already. And this has been Cinder Studios. See you guys next time. Okay, that's good. I think we're good. Woo! 3 videos for the next 3 weeks. Now, how much battery power is left? That's the real question. Don't know how much we've got left. Wish it would tell me. Sort of low. Sort of lowish. Sort of lowish. Sort of bad, actually. No, that's not. Hold on. Should tell me what I might just have to turn it off and on again to see where we're at. Still gonna plug it in, I just don't know where. 24 minutes. Oh yeah, it's definitely time to charge this battery. So that's a little look at recording videos. If you guys enjoyed this, yeah. So there's more to it than just hitting, saying like, okay, click. Record, that's good. It's like there's a little more to it than just simply hitting record. You know, I move around, I think about stuff. I really think about how I want to say stuff. Because again, I'm working off of an outline, which is really vague. And sometimes it's not always the most useful way to go. So yeah, thanks guys for joining me. Yeah, just now getting viewers whenever, you know, the whole thing's over. It's usually how it works around here. So, yeah. Oh, I know what I can show off. I don't think she's watching, so it helps. I'm working on a collaborative piece with a friend. So I'm going to at least show the in progress. It's turning out awesome so far. I did want to work on it a little bit today, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Maybe when I get back to the store, cleaning the house and stuff. So this is a 3x3 foot canvas. It's been in sitting forever and ever and ever, and I'm like, okay, we finally got to make something with this. Switch back here. Hopefully be able to hold this up. I don't know if I'll really be able to get there. This is in progress, mind you. I'm doing this with my friend Rare with Rain. Hopefully she's not embarrassed by this because it's still really rough. We worked on it for a couple hours, but it's going to take a while. At least one more session, probably two, before this is even close to done. Plus, I'll probably give it a little extra time this weekend. But back from the light, no, this way, that way. Glare. Got a lot of glare happening here. Nope, left, let's go left. Let's go left. There we go. There it is. Okay. So this is this piece that we're working on. A little more surreal than what you're probably used to seeing from me, but I'm happy with this. It looks awesome. I cannot wait to work on it more, but again, it's a collaborative piece, so I can only do so much alone, so yeah. That's that piece. So I'm working on that. I got 2 other paintings lined up as well for the next couple of weeks. I haven't had a lot of art shows this year, though. Which at first I was kind of bummed about, but it's like, you know what, I'm okay with that, because the past, last year, this year, really just been big production years where I'm making, at least now, some of what I feel some of the best work I've ever made. Now there's some old stuff that I really like. That's also some of the best work I've ever made, but I mean, I figure the newest stuff's always going to be the best, but really, I'm impressed with myself because the quality of the stuff I've been making in the past year and a half has just been freaking awesome stuff. I finish a piece and I'm like super excited about it. Like, oh man, I can't wait for people to see this. Actually, my past 2 pieces were like that, I think. So I finished one this morning. If the sun ever comes out this weekend, I'll have that picture up. If not, I'll have to wait until I get a sunny day to get a good picture. But yeah, that's about it. Actually have some stuff to do around the house today, so I'm actually kind of really busy. So even getting this stream up was a challenge to do this week. Oh, I know what I can show. Let me move the camera over. Because I'll need to move the camera over for this. So, if you follow me on Twitter, you will have seen this already. But I'll slide this whole shebang over here. Sorry about the shakiness. Really. Ah, there we go. Yeah, little overexposed on the camera. I do apologize, but it's specifically set up to look at a painting and not look at my face. So. So I'm a fan of a channel here on YouTube called Tested. It's run by former Mythbuster Adam Savage, as well as a handful of other guys. One guy that they have on from time to time is a guy by the name of Frank Ippolito, who is like a makeups and special effects artist for the movies. And in 2015, he demoed what they called a horror skull prop. And I love this. I've been wanting to try it ever since. And this year, I finally got the chance to do so. So I made this. I freaking love this. This was one of the... I did this past week. This is a plastic skull, which is a base. You just buy plastic skulls on Amazon. This one was probably a little more expensive than I needed to actually pay for one of these. But so like this is the perfect centerpiece for my up on my table for Halloween. So I spent probably over the course of like 5 or 6 days making this. It's cotton balls, Mod Podge, and acrylic gels and paint to get this. You can probably just search on YouTube "tested skull," and you can find the tutorial for this. It's really fun. It's actually really, really easy too. I was so surprised how simple and effective means this was. Now, one thing that Frank did in the video is he used plumber's epoxy to hinge this side of the skull in and attach it. I used hot glue because I used what I had, and it works provided you don't let go and before the glue finishes drying. This far side, the actual bones only go to about here. These stretchy parts here, this is all just like pieces of cotton and then the Mod Podge on top of it to give it that look. And then it's just buffing different layers of paint. I started with like browns and greens, did some reds, and then did a black layer over top of it. But this was really, really fun to do. Again, the picture for this you can find on my Twitter. There's actually multiple pictures of it. It got a retweet, 2 of them actually. I was really excited about that. And of course, when the guy that made the project likes the post about it, that makes your day. But yeah, I'm really, really happy how the way this turned out. I want to do more, especially now too. So yeah, nice, scary Halloween prop. Super effective, super easy. Probably a little late for a lot of you guys to maybe be trying to do this, but I mean, you can probably find cheap skulls at like the dollar store or something. As well as, I mean, I got a bag of cotton balls at the dollar store. So this entire project, including the skull, which unfortunately, hate to admit, was actually a $30 skull. I probably could have spent $5 and got one just as nice, but maybe a little smaller. I really wanted one that was life-size, and the other part was to have a detachable jaw, which was one of my stipulations. So total cost for this thing, probably about $40 tops. So it's like $3-4 for the Mod Podge, $35 or $30 for the skull, $8 or whatever for shipping, and then $1 cotton balls. So super. I mean, you can do this at home. It's again very easy. Follow the tutorial, tested.com or just youtube.com/tested. I think is just how it is. You're looking for a guy by the name of Frank Ippolito, and he demos this. Very easy. Definitely takes a few days. Like when you apply the Mod Podge and it's thick with the cotton, you have to let it sit for half a day for it to dry before you're really ready to kind of keep working on it. I balanced this in a plastic jug like this, so I could actually work on the bottom. But yeah, really fun project. This is what I did this week, and it's a great piece for the table now. Hopefully this guy isn't like creeping you out too much. But yeah, so this was this project. Again, thanks guys for watching, and this has been from Cinder Studios, and I will see you guys next time.